So you've mentioned multiple times the uncertainty. You talked about 2008. You talked about 2020. Both significant factors in the financial market. So we asked ChatGPT, not so much a question, but more just a statement to hear its response. Acting as if it was a financial advisor, investment opportunities during uncertain times. And you've also mentioned that phrase, uncertain times, a couple of times in this interview. So it says, during uncertain times, it's important to have a focus on investments that have historically shown resilience in the face of market volatility. This can include diversifying your portfolio across a range of assets such as stocks, bonds, and real estate. Additionally, investing in stable, dividend-paying stocks and funds can provide a reliable source of income during uncertain times. It's important to work with a financial advisor to develop a comprehensive investment strategy that aligns with your goals and risk tolerance. So I kind of feel like you're making a face, though.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the last two sentences there. It's important to work with your financial advisor to develop a comprehensive investment strategy. Yet, in the sentence that precedes that, they're saying, oh, well, you can invest in stable dividend-paying stocks. It's like, well, okay, you're making a recommendation there. I don't know if that's intentional within ChatGPT, but like,
I think it's a gray area. If you've seen all the things that ChatGPT has said, and there's been certain, I won't go into it in depth, but there's times where it's like threatening people and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So you probably saw that in the news. Yeah.
Yes. And so that's the only thing that stays here. I think that they were leading into it very well. And then they're making some suggestions across some ideas of how to invest. Now, when we think about uncertain times and we think about investing, what they're referring to, I believe, when they say like stocks and bonds, now they are likely referring to individual holdings. I am buying the stock of XYZ company. I'm buying a bond in ABC company. Those are individual securities that are going to generally be more volatile than the general market. And so what is a preferred strategy during uncertain times is to spread out your eggs into thousands of baskets. So for majority of clients, especially with a retirement focus, we're going to work with the kinds of securities and instruments that make sense, which is for most going to be mutual funds and exchange traded funds, otherwise known as ETFs. They both operate similarly. And the way that they work is that they have an objective. So they might say, I want to focus on emerging international markets. So think like second world countries.
Such as like a new company that's formed that's showing a lot of revenue generation in another country, perhaps.
Exactly. And they're going to be from maybe less, I was going to say brand name countries. If you're going to invest in Germany, that's not an emerging market. We're thinking more of second world. You might consider China in there. You might consider, India would be a good example. Lots of Latin American countries, Africa, depending on where you are in Europe, maybe more on the east side or the south side. So there's different areas where you can diversify. And so if that's the objective of, let's say, a mutual fund, well, it's got the whole world available to it, literally, that is within that particular objective or scope. And so they can invest a little bit in Latin America, a little bit in China, a little bit in India, a little bit in Vietnam, whatever they feel is important to them. And so they can diversify and spread out that risk even farther than saying, I'm going to diversify in the tech space and I'm going to have Facebook and Google in my portfolio. So that's where I think ChatGPT could use a little bit of coaching, is that they're providing some individual recommendations in there that could be appropriate for some. But if you're trying to be as generic as possible to communicate just basic facts on educated financial planning topics, it might be don't make specific recommendations. Maybe just leave it at the first sentence even, or the second sentence, and just call it a day.
Meaning where it says, focus on investments that have historically shown resilience in the face of market volatility. And then diversifying stocks, bonds, real estate.
Yeah, they could probably end it there. I may even say, well, don't even go to such as, because you could just probably leave it there and just leave it up to the
because now you've identified particular ones.
Yeah, and that's where people get in trouble, is because if you're going to promote some kind of product or some kind of solution that is proprietary. So say I am a captive agent, and so I can only sell one company's solutions, like life insurance or something like that. Well,
like if you're like a State Farm agent or something like that.
Could be, yes. That's actually probably a very good example. And this isn't to disparage State Farm. Sure. It's just they're captive agent. They don't have the ability to be a broker of multiple products.
So they're not going to sell Progressive if you have State Farm on their front of the building. Yeah.
And State Farm's products are good. but that's the ecosystem in which you're going to reside if you're going to be a client of theirs. Whereas if you're, and so here they're basically saying something kind of similar, maybe adjacent to it, that we're going to focus on these particular kinds of investments, when in actuality, let's broaden that horizon a little bit more. So we haven't been giving grades.
We've got a couple, yeah.
But if I was to, what were we doing? Numbers, letters?
Yeah. What would you say on this one? Do you think that this is a Colin wins or a ChatGPT wins?
I think there's more nuance required, so I'm going to say I win. Which, I mean, of course,
you can say you win.
Here to defend
One
itself,
point to Colin on this one.
Okay, that's fine.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. As always, please remember, investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Please seek advice from a licensed professional. Correct Capital Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Correct Capital Wealth Management and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advice may be rendered by Correct Capital Wealth Management unless a client service agreement is in place.